So here we go again. This is the third catch up. I have many pillows. I've hurt my back. I've got a wee bit of back injury right at the base of my spine, which is something that's bothered me for the last probably 30 years or so, and it it's been flaring up the last couple of days. So I've been hitting the ice hard and all that kind of good stuff, managing the pain. So these are coming kind of thick and fast now. I'm speaking to Fern today about when we start to release them. So the first couple will be out, I would imagine, over the next kind of 2 or 3 days. The heading of this one, the name of this one is the ReConnection. And the intention with it again is just we've got the ReConnection in Glasgow tomorrow night. We're back in at the yoga barn, and it's like people looking in and seeing what it's called and whether it's a workshop or whether it's an event or whether it's whatever it is, a programme, the stuff that I'm doing. That question comes up all the time. What is it? What's involved in that night? And it's really difficult to you kind of to verbalise and express in words what the intention is. And well, it's easy to do the intention, but the experience of what people are going to get is what it's really all about. And that's a wee bit more difficult to do justice by trying to tell somebody what to expect and what they're going to get. So this video, I'm going to talk about a wee bit about the ReConnection and the process and the intention behind it. It came through probably the start of the year, really intense year, kind of spiritually for me, as well as many within the group. There was loads within the programme, and there was a few of us were really on it for a huge part of the year, probably the first 6-7 months of the year, certainly the inner circle. There was a spine there of people that are just every single day doing the meditations. Probably started this time last year, with the live meditations every single day that I was doing, 5 every morning. Did that for it seemed like forever. It probably wasn't that long. It was months and months, but it just seemed like it didn't end. And right at the very end when it did stop, I remember sitting in front of the screen one morning, and I was working every morning, and it was 7 days a week, and then I moved it up to twice a day. And at the same time I was doing live meditations online, free meditations online. So it became too much. And the good news is that we were able to capture all of that, but we got all of that in video, just fantastic, the whole process and the experience that we're intentionally creating. But we did it together, and the way we did it together and how much that expansion took place over the course of the year was just fantastic. We learned so much, all of us. It was an incredible year, so for this time last year right through, and then probably the turn of the year it was really kind of motoring, and the live satsangs where we were together were just incredible, whether it was Boys Club or the Sunday satsang or the retreats, whatever it was. When we get together, when you get more than one person, when it's just myself for all the years, I would always know that at one point, hopefully, as Abraham Hicks says, one person in alignment is more powerful than millions who are not. And I was just taking I wish there was more than one. And then people would come and go that I would teach and kind of share where I was at and the stuff that I was into, and explain the kind of the programme, I suppose, although it wasn't really called that at the time. And then watching them getting wee bits set, and some really got it. But it just this time around, it's the numbers that have stuck in the core group within the community, within the programme. It's so powerful, and there's so much goodness in it. There is no drama. There is only goodness. It's people making their way through life, and on this spiritual journey, this art of intentional living that we're doing. That's what it's all about. To explain what that is and explain what people get it's not that it's dead simple when you understand it, but it's not that easy if you don't know what I'm talking about. And that's why this ReConnection, this event, this class that's taking place once a month just now in Glasgow at the yoga barn, it's something that I do whenever anybody lies down in front of me and gets through any kind of breathwork session. The intention has always been to help them remember and reconnect. Very important to note, this is all about remembering. That's a bit here. That's why it's for everybody. What I experienced on my journey, that self-discovery, remembering who I was and discovering who I really was. But if it's in me, that was one of the first things that came through for me, then it must be in everybody. I'm no special. I just spent a long time really devotionally seeking it out and trying to experience it for myself. But when I got it for myself, And when it happened to me, and I came through it, and the kind of dust settled very quickly, I was like, okay, so it must be in everybody. And then you get to see things in a completely different way, that level of awareness, and not just like somebody telling you about it, but really experiencing that oneness and the wholeness, and at a certain level, that I got to experience, where there's no separation. We are in fact all one. To become part of the field, part of the divine mind, that quantum soup of consciousness. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can't. How can you name that which cannot be named? As the Tao Te Ching says, you can't name it. Again, it doesn't. From this level of mind and expression, the way we can express ourselves, then again we can only go to the human level of consciousness. So this is something that's obviously way beyond that. So very difficult to to express and explain in words, but it's much easier to experience than most people realise or ever think. And that's really what it's all about, So the reconnection process, why is it important? And it's dead simple, because it fixes every single thing that it touches. That's the thing that I've always known. When you start to have a meditation practice, you know what meditation is, and you understand what you're actually doing with it. And the ultimate goal is reconnection back obviously to the divine and to the field and all that kind of good stuff. Why? Because you then take on the power of that. But the first step is the reconnection back to you, back to the self, which again, it's like great question I ask very often, like, do you know who are you? Do you know who you are? And you can see people really, really scrambling. Now, unless you've experienced that oneness, wholeness, that complete union with the divine, and you've experienced that level of, freedom where you get to become that and get a wee taste of it, even if it's just for a really not enough long period of time. When you experience that, then you know that you're way greater than what you consider yourself to be before you go through something like that, some sort of quantum spiritual experience where you get to see things in a completely different way. So most people think their stuff, their name, their identity in terms of their work or how successful they are, how much money they've got, how many motors they've got, if it was a house abroad, or it's like status symbols and things that they tick off, that signifies to them, and that's their kind of report card to, right, okay, we're doing great, we're doing all right, I'm a success, and this is who I am, identify as this, the father, the mother, the employer, the employee. These are just labels that we take on in this life that we're in. It's a big part of it. The human experience is a big part of it, but it's not really the bit that I'm talking about. In fact, it's not at all the bit I'm talking about. The bit I'm talking about is the bit that's eternal. So when I say and ask the question, like, who are you? What I'm really, is like, it goes even beyond that. It's like, what are you? It's because when you ask who are you, that again, we understand at the higher levels, and I've no doubt there are many levels above that, but when you experience it from that level, the union and the non-duality, so just the oneness of everything being, like, the divine is only oneness, there's no, you can't separate it, you can't, there's no dark and no light, there's only light, there's only the answer, only the solution. And a lot of people, struggle to understand that concept. But when you become that, when you tap into that and you become it, and you experience it from that level, you get to see things in a completely different way. So the reconnection is back to that. The reconnection and the steps that we go through is to help you reconnect back to that. Once we reconnect into that, once you're in that space, then there's many different bits to many different things you can reconnect with. Very important, each other is probably the next step when you come back for that. One of the things we do is take people to experience feelings of gratitude and giving thanks for what they've got or who they've got in their life. And when you come back from this very first experience, you'll probably find yourself in such a fantastic space that you want to the reconnection that takes place by reaching out to others, whether it's for a forgiveness or for an apology, or either way, or just that connection, maybe reaching out to somebody if you've not been run about that much and they've came up during the process. So once we reconnect back to each other, that's a huge step in the right direction, because one of the biggest challenges we face just now is, like, so everybody's on their fucking phones, everybody's stuck, whether they're, we're separated. We're separated from how it's meant to be. This reconnection process is getting back to the way that it's meant to be. So when you see people, like, no phones, no Wi-Fi, like, out of their heads, like, stopping completely, reconnecting back into the self, back into the heart, back into the soul, and feeling what that is, then the reconnection with each other, so at the end of the class I always like to give people the opportunity to pass on a hug, and by that point when they've got the feelings of love in their heart, and they're able to express love and to receive it, then the whole world changes. It really does, so that reconnection with each other is the next part of it. Obviously the divine is the biggest bit. That's the most important part. When you reconnect back, and through meditation, the intention and the purpose is to reconnect back to God. It's not to quiet the mind, it's not to escape, it's not to contemplate, or these are all things that you can do within and about that space, but the main intention with meditation, in fact the only intention, should be union with the divine, to become the field of consciousness, to sit and do whatever it is you need to do, to stop being you, to let go of the lower self, the thoughts and the thinkingness. And why that's significant, because if you're in your head, then you can't experience this and the way that it comes in, the language that it comes in, the intelligence and the way that it's experienced within you is with your feelings. So if you're in your head and you're overthinking, that's why so few people can actually, they don't really know what meditation is, to be honest, but they don't, even if they did, they still wouldn't be able to do it because they've got such an active mind, that overactive, never-ending figure-8 loop, chronic stress, inflammation, question, answer, solution, what's next, it just doesn't end, so that's why we need to get out of that. It's very important to get out of this, and then we get a chance to reconnect back into the heart, back into the soul, where, then you've got the bridge to all that that field of divine perfection, that space, that consciousness, that divine matrix, whatever you want to call it, reconnection back to God, to be in union with God, to go and be in the presence of it, what it's all about. And when that happens, then again, that you can then continue that, because Mother Earth, a reconnection back to nature is a huge part of it. Once you have a different level of awareness, a different level of consciousness, then the desire to be in nature is a starter for 10. The desire to get away from your phone, and I'm amazed just now that so few photographs of being in nature, because I'm leaving my phone behind all the time. Because that desire to get into the trees and to maybe find a quiet spot somewhere and sit with my dog with no music on, and just sit on the ground under a tree, or if I'm lucky getting sitting against, there's one or two trees I can actually sit against in like a proper, like an upright meditative position. Or getting the hands onto the trees, something I like to do almost every single day if I can. The difference in that is what it'll do to your physical health, but again, it's that reconnection back to the environment that we're in. This is our home, and many times, and quite a few years ago, I realised that one of the biggest, certainly when I saw it, the pain that I experienced when I realised the damage that man had done to Mother Earth. And how it's one of our greatest sins, what we've done to this planet, and we're all, every single one of us, we're all guilty. We've all contributed. Maybe some of us are more ignorant than others, and but the impact that we leave and we're leaving behind, and the damage that it's doing to the rivers and the nature and the wildlife and all that kind of stuff. It's so to be more aware of that, and to have compassion for that, and to maybe do things in a different way and maybe start to help is a great, that's another fantastic upside that comes to this. Even just being in it, and breathing in it and walking in it, it's one of the greatest things. We Pooch's lying on the healing table behind the camera. That's our daily, is to get out into this, especially just now when it's sunlight. Get into nature and into the trees, even for it doesn't need to be any length of time. 10 minutes can be enough. I try to get to at least an hour a day, being back into nature. And when I'm in nature as well, the final part I would say about the remembering and the reconnection process is back to the ancient ways. So like that, being in nature and getting the healing benefits from that just by being in it. But also, the ancient practices. For me, it's Qigong just now, every single day. There's a wee bit of yoga moves thrown in with that as well. Breathwork, obviously, so breathing with function and intention. And then depends how far you want to take it, what you want to add in. For me, heat exposure, cold exposure. The diet's a huge thing, in terms of taking responsibility for your diet and what you eat, all that kind of stuff. And again, how it's meant to be. You walk into the supermarket and you think, what would have been here 100 years ago in terms of food? And you probably had the first row, if you were lucky, the first aisle, which would be fruit and veg, and then maybe some bread if you were lucky. I don't even know when that started, but it's certainly the real foods and the tatties and the turnips and all that kind of stuff, depending on where you're in the world, would have been your lot. So getting back to eating the way we're meant to as well is usually important. One of the biggest reasons we're getting sick is because of what we put in our mouth. and what's sold us, and the fact that and the way they can call it food is nothing short. It's an absolute fucking joke. It would be the honest way to put it. I passed again yesterday, watched the school kids up the high street, and just kids in their teens, and just watching they just literal poisoning themselves with shite out at the chip shop, and B&M Bargains is the other one up the top of the town. You see them just buying sweets for their lunch. Not all of them. The healthy ones are in next door in Lidl's getting croissants and cakes, and you're like, it's a huge challenge that we face, and then what all that does, no reason or no connection or any reason to think that there's, why we're all getting sick, so fucking early. Why are so many people getting sick in their 20s, 30s, 40s with stomach conditions and health conditions that are, so much of it's diet related, So back to the ancient ways, back to the way that it's meant to be. That reconnection process, remembering, because it's in there, we come into this world with it. That's the great bit, the fact that it's already in there, and it doesn't matter. I've dealt with some incredible cynics over the years. You can see them thinking this isn't going to get me, and I know how it works. And there's been one or two over the years, but almost always, because the process and what it does and how it helps you, enables you to remember that presence, that divine essence that's inside you, and it's inside me, and it's inside every single one of us. When you use the tools and the way that I do it, and the intention is everything, and the intention is dead simple: to take back your birthright. It's to take back your power. It's to reconnect and to remember who you are and all that you are, to expand your awareness and to expand your consciousness, so that you can see things from a different level, and see them in a way that they're supposed to be seen, as opposed to the normal way, which is just now is ignorance, just going through life, making your way through, just lost, confused, upside down, ignorant, not really bothered, doesn't matter, looking forward to the next holiday, looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to dancing with the fucking stars on Saturday night, whatever it is, the distractions, whether it's the Fitbit or the choose your poison. And not only it's poison, but a lot of it is, and certainly when you see, again, the Waynes walking up for school, that in one hand they've got their whatever it is, the food that they're eating, and then the phones are there as well. So it's a remembering process, and getting back to how you're supposed to feel, and taking away the stresses and the strains and the inflammations and all the stuff that takes you away from that. And it's a beautiful process. The tools are dead simple. They're not my tools. They're tools that have been about forever. We're talking about basic stuff. Power of awareness is everything. Your awareness, what you're doing to yourself, what you're allowing them or it to do to you, and then the power of intention. I intend, here's what's happening. Once you're in a place of, once you're reconnected, then it's easy, because once you take your power back and you remember how you're meant to feel and how you're able to feel, and then even more important, how to get back there, then the whole game changes. So functional breathing is the starter for 10. Everybody should learn how to breathe. It doesn't matter who you are. You should learn how to breathe with proper function, in and out through your nose. Learn how the chemistry works without being able to do a science presentation on it, but have at least a grasp of what the nervous system is, and what positively affects it and what negatively affects it, how that feeds into how you feel, and your chemistry within your body. If you're experiencing anxiety, if you're experiencing panic attacks, if you're jacked up and can't sleep, and you've got chronic stress and inflammation and intrusive thoughts, then once you have awareness to see where that may be coming from. And it's dead simple. Everybody's the same. We're in this environment, so there's so many toxicities and things that kind of knock us out of balance and out of coherence. For all of us, just the fact that you're living in this world. And then you've obviously got the personal stuff as well, whether that is, whatever, the traumas and the things that have happened to us, and the heartache and the heartbreak and all that kind of stuff. So functional breathing that's the bridge. It really is. That's the thing that everybody needs to learn. You must learn that. So that's the gift that comes with these classes, is learning. That might be the most important thing you'll ever learn in your life: how to switch off your nervous system, and how to get to sleep at night time. How to give yourself the best chance to get a good night's sleep for so many good reasons. And again, so few people are at that place just now. They're in a chronic stressed state most of the time, and sleeping in that state as well, and breathing wrong when you go to bed is, again, neither wonder we're all getting sick, just through our own ignorance. We don't know. People don't know. So once we go through the kind of functional breathing, then the journey really begins. Once you understand how the breath goes together, then it's lying down flat on your back, and then deep relaxation, guided relaxation. The language that I use is all designed to enable you to kind of let go. Important to see where you're at when you come into these classes, but once you get in there, to give yourself a break, to give yourself permission to stop, even if it's gone really, really well, and especially if it's gone really, really bad, just to give yourself permission to stop, to take a break. It's usually important to let it go, to just be, to learn and feel what it means to just be. And the journey that I take people on, the ability to switch off the mind, how you stop the intrusive thoughts, how you stop that language, those never-ending figure-8 loops. That was my whole life up until I got it for myself and realised one simple question that I changed, and it enabled me to stop asking the questions, and I changed a couple of really subtle things, and then I was able to get back to sleep for the first time in my life, just life-changing stuff as soon as I'm awake. And now I'm like that again, because I'm actively working on stuff and I'm excited about stuff, so my spiritual journey's quite intense just now, so I'm in bed early, but it was 5 hours I think last night, probably 3:30 I was in here this morning, and it's just like go again and get into the meditations, and again, the wave is building, and I just try and get as much as I can, as well as my own healing and my own peace of mind and all that kind of good stuff, and being in alignment with it is what it's all about, So once the relaxation, once we're in the relaxation, and this is where the intentional breath, this is where, mine, what I call my system, the intentional breath, the ability to use functional breath work, and then, you go on an intentional journey with it, and the intention is to reconnect back into your heart and back into your soul, to get out your head and to stop thinking, and to get back into the bridge to the divine, the intelligence of the heart, and feel, first and foremost, remember how you're meant to feel, how you're supposed to feel, how you're able to feel. So few people are going through their life the way we're meant to feel, even just feeling good, basic well-being, before you even consider being happy. How many people are actually really happy just now? And forget joy, how many people, and I actually know one or two who are joyful, so and these feelings, these emotions, when you understand that you can actually tap into them and you can generate them, just by your intention, and what gratitude will do for you, will change your life, just by feeling grateful for anything. Doesn't matter what it is, the amount of gratitude I've got for the pooch, and the amount of love that I've got for that dog, you can sit and can bring you to tears. And it's no tears of sadness, it's tears of just gratefulness mixed with it's appreciation, and obviously there's love in there as well, and the joy that she brings to all of us and within the family, so it's so the intentional breath, going inside, reconnecting back into that, opening up the heart, opening yourself up, giving yourself permission to whatever comes up, allow it to come up. One of the biggest challenges that we see is the suppression, no dealing with stuff. Right, we all do that. Some are better than others, and at some point it needs to come up. So no surprise that more often than not that there's tears in these events. And that's why I don't allow children to come. There can be heavy stuff getting shifted. In fact, the intention is to shift the heavy stuff. If the time is right for you, and it's always a timing thing, but if the time is right and you go into that space and you're surrounded, with that, what we create, within the intentional breath leading into the meditation. Once we're in the meditation, once we're all sitting in union, once we're in, those elevated states of unconditional love, and then, God is love, so you're really close to it. And if you can feel love for anything, if you can feel love in your heart, and then the other emotions as well, gratitude and joy, the higher vibration. But once you start to get into unconditional love, then the whole game changes. Everyone gets to a new level, where we then get to full coherence with the field, with consciousness, heart coherence, mind and heart, body, soul, spirit coherence, oneness where everything's humming the way that it's meant to hum, that level of coherence. That's where miracles take place, when you tap in, to that field. And when you're sitting in the presence of those who know what they're doing, so more than one person in alignment, which there will be again, there always is now. The minute there's any sort of public class, then there's always at least myself and one or two others. There'll probably be half a dozen from the program members, so people who know what this is about, understand the language, they get daily practices, they're intentionally raising their consciousness, by the work that they're doing every single day, and some of them are experiencing miracles, so when you sit with people like that, and there's more than one, and we all know what we're doing, the intention is to bring as much light, to allow it to come through the field, to come through the divine. That's what meditation is. You're tapping into God, you're tapping into a field of consciousness, and when you do that with intention, it's okay to ask and it's okay to receive, So when that comes through and you're in the presence of that, that bit where you can't think, when you're in your heart and you're feeling grateful and you're maybe feeling joy or happiness for the first time in a long time, at that point, don't be surprised if things absolutely start to come up. If it's like taking the candle into the darkened room, the darkness needs to be released in whatever way it needs to go, So a lot of the times that can be expressed through tears or, and that's a good thing, we don't suppress anything. It's like when you jump into the cold and you come out and you've been in too long and you start to shiver, then you don't suppress the shivers, that's the body heating itself up. Same in the sauna, you don't get into a sauna and you start to stop yourself sweating. The nervous system and the circulation, everyone's working together, the different systems are working together to make it the best that it can for you, and tears are the same. If there is a time and you get the opportunity to get it up and greet it out, fantastic, it doesn't get any better than that. And when you're in alignment, the whole plan with all the different steps to the tools is to get in alignment, to experience what alignment is, to actually understand through direct experience what meditation is, and then know how to get back there very, very quickly. Like I'm talking inside 1 or 2 breaths. It's all about intention, So once you know how it goes together, and hopefully if I do my job properly and it comes through the way that it always comes through, you'll get the experience of it. At that point, the next day when you wake up, you'll know how to get back there yourself, and that's what it's all about. It's all about self-reliance. And getting it for yourself, and tending to yourself and developing that spiritual journey and that spiritual relationship with the divine, and because it's so important, and it fixes every single thing that it touches. That's why I keep going on about it, because it's the one thing. Spirituality is the one thing that fixes this world. It's not going to be religion. It's not going to be the politicians. It's not going to be the nuclear weapons and the wars and the separation that they take. It's none of that. It's not the fighting, so it needs to be put back together in a different way. And that's what we're doing here, So these sessions, it's all about getting back to the light, So no matter what you're coming in with, it doesn't matter. The heaviness of this world, and it's heavy times just now, for myself included, it's no easy. But to put that, leave it at the door and give yourself a break from it, to take stock and see where you're at, to give yourself that gift of like investing in yourself, because these tools and techniques, once you've got them, I don't know how anybody lives without them. I say that continuously on here, and I mean it. It's like the how powerful these, this ability and what these tools and techniques will enable you to experience in your life, and how to navigate your way through your life. It's something that everybody needs to get, So to really stop being you, to stop being the lower self, to give yourself a break for that, to get out your head, to reconnect back into your heart, to reconnect back into your soul. To be, just to know what that feels like, just to be, to feel what happens when you actually stop, and then the cells open up, and what happens to your immune system, and you're giving the body a break. You're consciously giving yourself a break for you, which is so powerful. And then you're in that sacred space with like-minded souls who are there to expand and to become, and maybe looking for their own healing or their own miracles or whatever it is. And in that process, when we open up and we allow, we allow the divine, because that's what you're asking for. You're tapping at the divine. When you allow that to come through you, and if you're blessed, I'm not going to say luck, because luck's for the paddies and they're prepared, but with intention, you can absolutely, you can experience what it feels like to be run about it. And for some, eventually to become it. That's what it's all about, So really grateful for the ReConnection, for the event, for the session, the way that it came through, and what it does for people. It's a powerful, 3 hours. The session itself is probably 2.5 hours, but it's a powerful few hours. It could change your life in ways you can't even imagine. Everything changes. That's a wee bit of a disclaimer. To be aware of when you come in, and you how you leave. You could leave a completely different human being. So change is more than probably going to take place. And if you are on a healing journey, if you are on, you're at a bit where you're trying to make your way through things, and we get it up and we get it out, and then through meditation we tap in and we reconnect back into the field. We take on the power of the divine, because we carry it inside of us, and when you tap into it, it's like plugging into the it's the source. You get back to the source, and that source, once we're tapped into that, then it's amazing. Everything just seems to get better. Every single thing gets better instantly when you remember, the divinity that's inside of you, and you start to, see things in a different way, and you start to realise that there's different ways of doing this. It doesn't just need to be, the head down, arse up, kill yourself, and work till you die. At the same time, the spiritual journey and the spiritual being that you are, that absolutely needs tended to as well. So we're here for a reason. We're human beings, and to do both, how you make that practical and easy, so you can apply it into your life and get the benefits the best you can as you go forward. That's what it's all about, you know. So there you go. The third catch up, the ReConnection. I hope to see you at one of those events. If it calls you, God bless, take it easy, peace out, and bye for now.